Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brock Beard from LastCar.info, and welcome to Behind the Wall, the post-race show that comes on after the race. We're unofficially pending the results of post-race inspection. Denny Hamlin has not only scored his 60th career Cup Series win, but punched his ticket into those all-important playoffs. The first of the 4 championship positions for Phoenix, when our next trackside coverage is going to be at late October and early November, is now set. This, of course, pending the results of post-race inspection. This at the same time that one of the championship contenders is, so far, pending that same inspection. Ryan Blaney almost going to be another last-place finisher this season. His second this year, still not the leader, with Riley Herbst still having the lead in the standings. Riley having a solid run there otherwise, but a race that had a little bit of everything, I would have to say. A very solid championship drive for Denny Hamlin today, much as we saw with Connor Zilisch yesterday in the Xfinity race, although that one did not turn out to be a victory for him this week, though. But yeah, really enjoyable race weekend as well. Thank you also for the birthday wishes here as well. This is the first time that a Cup Series race has been on my birthday since 2013. And coming into this race, the last 2 times that a Cup Series race had been on October 12th, the defending series champion won the race. It was Terry Labonte at Talladega in 1997, and it was Brad Keselowski at Charlotte in 2013. That streak did not extend today, although Joey Logano made an attempt at it, getting a 2-tire stop along with Chase Briscoe towards the end. I think they were probably anticipating some multiple restarts at the very end of this event here, and things kind of going over and over at that point. But that ended up not being the case. A long green flag run to end this with a good battle there up front. Denny Hamlin making some moves that even surprised Kyle Larson at the front of the field there. Put on a tremendous show out there. Logano and Briscoe both end up dropping back in the pack. Briscoe in the 4th place finish and Logano in 6th. But again, still probably about where they would have finished otherwise, given the fact that Larson was so dominant in this race and Denny Hamlin looking very good as well. It was kind of desperation time to work their way back up there. But some surprising runs as well. We'll definitely be talking about that tonight. We'll talk about the Xfinity Series race. We got some trivia here. I do want to talk about some videos I'm working on here. And we'll get into all of that here. So first and foremost, we'll get more into the Cup Series action here. At the same time. So again, Denny Hamlin winning from the pole, did not get the fastest lap of the race. 29:39 was the fastest lap logged in by Chase Briscoe. This again pending the results of inspection and so forth here. But Denny Hamlin, your winner by 1.5 seconds over Larson. Christopher Bell in the 3rd spot, Chase Briscoe in 4th, and Tyler Reddick rounding out the top 5 there as well. Again, Joey Logano in 6th. Alex Bowman with a solid run in 7th. He made some very aggressive moves out there to work his way through the field. But in this case here, a 7th place finish, probably his best run in several weeks. I can't remember the last time he got a top 10 here, it seems like. Kyle Busch, a remarkable charge after starting 32nd, just looked completely lost at the beginning of this race. Actually, Kyle Larson was back there with him at one point there, but climbing back up to finish in 8th place. I mean, if he could do this well with cars that he's struggling with this much at Richard Childress, if they can just figure out what on earth is going on there, I mean, it's going to make a big difference there for him. We'll see if he can, do something here in these next couple of weeks. One of his last wins that he had in the Childress effort was at Talladega back in 2023. Is that a possibility next week? We'll see. I mean, it's a toss-up at this point there. I think we could very easily have kind of an unusual week there, especially with Hamlin pulling off the victory here today. Rounding out the top 10, Ryan Preece and Brad Keselowski. Keselowski almost in the bottom 5 there. Actually, I think in the bottom 5 with a 34th place starting spot, and being able to climb back into the top 10 here, almost finishing best of the RFK group there, of course, behind Preece, but ahead of Chris Buescher there, a bit further back in 12th position there. But yeah, back in the field though, no shortage of some bad luck here along the way. A couple of pretty egregious accidents here at the same time. Just a rough deal for Ryan Blaney. He was running in the 12th spot. He was not the best. I think he was actually the worst qualified of the playoff contenders coming into this race here this time around, and seemed like something was just off. He wasn't that far back from the group. He was about 12th spot when the tire went down going into turn 3. but an absolutely savage hit to the outside wall in turn 4. Glad to see he was okay. And the next 2 weeks are going to be very, very interesting, I would say, for him in that 12 camp. I fully expected him to be one of the contenders. I did pick Logano with the trend that's happened lately. These last couple of races, this had a very Penske feel to me going into it. I wasn't really thinking about the Gibbs teams nearly as much. Last bro picked Christopher Bell to win this one, and he ended up, of course, finishing better than Logano this time around. Yeah, I mean, Blaney having his issues there, it's going to make Martinsville and Talladega and Martinsville, rather, these next couple of races very interesting. As they mentioned, you had Marty Snyder talking to him there. 2 wins in the fall race at Talladega, both in photo finishes, and 2 wins in the Martinsville race. They just had to grind out each of the last 2 years, actually, to do a walk-off and make it into the Final Four, winning one of those championships and another time coming just short of it. It could be very interesting when we get down to this stretch run here. And again, is he going to sweep both wins? I mean, that could be a possibility. Who knows? But it's also going to depend on who's going to be on the entry list. So I think the entry list is going to be a lot of fun to write this week. You may recall back when we were covering Talladega back in the spring, that's where Anthony Alfredo was leading a lot of those laps for the Beard Motorsports effort, no relation, in the number 62 team. He was doing a fine job out there. Unfortunately, some pit strategy didn't quite work out. He ended up further back in the pack there. But yeah, fine effort back then. We'll see how that turns out this time. Probably the biggest controversy in this one would have to be the big pileup between race leader William Byron and Ty Dillon coming to pit road. Just a big, scary incident there off of turn 4. We've seen a lot of close calls here at this track. I mean, this isn't the only one that's had a really tricky entrance, but it seems like, I think in the spring race even this year, we saw a lot of situations where there were cars that were cutting it very close, somebody slowing in the middle of the corner, and then just making this abrupt turn onto pit road. And then the other aspect that doesn't get talked about that much is Las Vegas has a curved pit road. So it has kind of its blind spots as well. It's actually one of the trickier ones to cover running up and down pit road, because if you try to peek out from a stall, you're not going to be able to see one end versus the other. I think Phoenix is probably the next most challenging with that fishhook shape, and just being as long as it is, and having the race restart so far back from where the actual pit entrance is. This is kind of a tricky stretch of the season, but regardless, there was over the radio transmission, and thankfully we have the onboard cameras that HBO Max has right now, which are a tremendous asset. Right after this accident happened, it was queuing back to that and listening to the number 10 radio, and really going into turn 1, the previous lap, they said they were coming back coming in that next time by. And, it sounded like there weren't any hand signals. We didn't see any from outside the car. The broadcast did a pretty good job of showing no hand signals out the window down the back straightaway, with Byron catching up to him there at the same time. But again, kind of an aggressive move back to pit road there. It looked like a little bit of an uneasy entry. Certainly, Dillon was slowing down through turns 3 and 4. And kind of, was describing it there. And I don't know how much the glare of the sun had a factor. We certainly saw that a lot yesterday in the Xfinity race. But then in this one here too, even towards the end of it, at that point, things got really tight, really quick. And then you had that kind of same situation there. But either way, just an unfortunate deal, a brutal hit, completely tore up the right front of Byron's car there, tore up the foam all the way back to the door there, and pretty good damage to the left rear of Dillon's car, pretty much ramped one over the other, and Dillon ended up out of the race as well, shown in the 37th spot with Byron in the 36th. Brutal situation there too, and another driver that you have to look at these next couple of weeks. Byron's had some good runs here and there at Talladega. Won on the super speedways before, winning at Daytona in his first career win. Martinsville, he seems like he's very good in the spring race. Seems like he's really uncertain in the fall race. We've seen a lot of issues out of that 24 team. Last year, they were just absolutely out to lunch and hanging on. And of course, that led to all that manufacturer infighting that was happening at the end. That led to Christopher Bell riding the wall and William Byron almost making it in or not making it in. And then this awful judgment call that had to be made at the end of that. hopefully we avoid something like that this time around. Although, again, it's going to be tricky, and there's going to be some hearts broken there, certainly by the end of that race as well. But desperation situation, perhaps, for the 24 team. I was very surprised by how well Kyle Larson was doing here. Not that he hasn't been good at Las Vegas before, or mile and a halves in general. It just seems like to me, in my mind, he's more or less kind of disappeared in most of this playoff stretch here. I haven't really paid much attention to how many runs he's had. It was very surprising to see how well he was battling Van Gisbergen for the lead on the Roval last week. That's probably the first thing I've really noticed out of him, really, most of this stretch. Maybe it's different because we haven't had Homestead in the playoffs this year, or whatever the deal may be. Not expecting to see much of him out at Talladega next week, although he was among the leaders in the spring race this year. So that's certainly a possibility at the same time. It could be kind of a crazy situation there. But I was very surprised by how well Larson did in this race. He looked almost unstoppable in the middle stages. But Denny Hamlin was just right up there, and kind of going back to the man of the hour. Yeah, just very, very impressed with Denny Hamlin's drive. That move in the high lane that he made off of turn 4, especially against Kyle Larson, who has, made it his bread and butter to, much like Tyler Reddick, run the high lane as best he can and keep that car stuck and just trying to kind of get the best run he can out there. That's not an easy thing to try to outdo. And that's very much the case, this time around there. So, very impressed with how Hamlin went. I said back at Kansas that the run he had out there was a championship run, and how he was leading all those laps and leading the stages and trying to gut it out there with the power steering failing out there. And unfortunately, things didn't turn out his way because, a lot of these late race stages, things just get turned upside down and somebody else just kind of seems to end up with the win. And even under those circumstances, he almost still was that guy coming back from a bad pit stop there, getting up there and actually trying to challenge for the lead. This one here was I'd say a major atonement for at least that race. Certainly getting him into the championship certainly just having a good race on all fronts. The pit crew was stepped up and everything. No mistakes there. Didn't see any particularly bad stops out of the 11. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't seem to see any that were in that situation or anything. But did a fine job out there, and I was very impressed. So you kind of had that mix of it there too. Then on the other side of the coin there, we had the other big major pileup in turn 1. We had one of the daring moves that Alex Bowman made was shortly before this big pileup there. Bowman was kind of threading his way through to get up to the 3rd spot there. And right behind him, Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell, I believe it was, made contact. Gibbs trying once again to still try to get his first Cup Series win, which has become a lot more challenging than I think a lot of us predicted here, especially for how well he seemed to do driving Kurt's car shortly after Kurt's injury. But it's been a really, really rough battle here. Ends up getting put into the outside wall, comes down. Cody Ware cleans him out too. Some heavy damage for the Rick Ware racing effort, and you hate to see that too at the same time. Ware ends up in the 35th spot, Ty Gibbs in 34th. Completing the bottom 5 here at the same time. So again, difficult battles all the way around, but a pretty, complete race, I'd have to say. There was just enough room for drivers to really rally from having issues in qualifying or practice. Seeing Kyle Busch work his way back into contention was certainly a big story here. And Riley Herbst was one I mentioned in the big pileup. He actually finished ahead of Chase Elliott after Elliott's penalty earlier in the race there with the uncontrolled tire. Herbst, I thought, was extremely impressive out there. When that big pileup happened, like he was setting up to run right into the 54 car there in the high lane. And I don't know how on earth he did this because he was already pretty high up the track, but he just cut that thing to the right and just barely cleared him. NBC or USA, I guess in this case, was not really showing the full replay of it, but when they were showing at least parts of it there, it looked like it was just really, really close. So good to see, especially for a driver that struggled as much as this year. And, coming into this race as the last car leader for 2025, difficult stretch run here for him. And coming out of this with a 17th place finish, which is probably, I don't know if that's his best run this year, but it's got to be certainly one of the best runs he's had this season. So a fine showing there out of him here too. Noah Gragson, looking at him in 13th. I thought for sure he was involved in that big accident there into turn one. But in this case here, came out the other end after starting 28th, finishing in the 13th spot. So that's good to see. Again, back at Sears Point, when he had that last place finish out there, he was running just outside the top 10 when he wrecked. He was about 11th or 12th at that time. And the race had very, very low attrition. And unfortunately, he ended up with the last place run, but not indicative for how well he's been performing out there. So good to see, some of these other drivers that are a little bit newer to the circuit, having some good runs there at the same time. Brutal race in some ways, but very rewarding there at the same time too. So I got to say, an enjoyable afternoon of competition there over the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Love covering races out there. We did a couple races out there, and I guess it was 21 and 22 for the fall events there, and haven't ruled out going back there either next spring or maybe next fall. We're seeing kind of how our schedule is going to kind of figure out next year. We're certainly looking at Sears Point and the San Diego Coronado Air Base events there next July, or I guess June and July there. So we'll see how the rest of the schedule kind of works out from there. But a lot of time to really kind of think about that and figure things out from there. But that's about all I really have to say on that one. Denny Hamlin leads only 9 laps to win this race. It felt like he was up front for a lot longer, but he was at least threatening most of this day. Kyle Larson led 129 laps. Chase Briscoe leading 57 laps here. Looking further back through the pack there, William Byron led 55 before his accident, of course, that was happening while he was leading. Kind of a crazy set of circumstances, but a little bit of everything here. And again, showing that this Las Vegas track is just very racy and very competitive. There's still a lot of issues with this car, and thankfully we're hearing now this week with the news of the increased horsepower at tracks smaller than Las Vegas and the other mile and a halves, and also the road courses. I'm certainly excited about that. I don't think it's going to fix everything, much like a season-long point standings is not going to fix everything, but it's at least a focus on the right direction. And maybe it's going to find out that the horsepower needs to be even more. You have to have these races get to a point where the drivers, they could go into a corner maybe 160 miles an hour, but if they did that, they'd crash. So they should have something where they should, not just be matting it around these smaller tracks, or if aerodynamics even get to be a factor at road courses, even Watkins Glen, which is mostly straightaways, it shouldn't be a factor. It should have something where, you get this high horsepower package and you have to manipulate it around the track and, get the best performance out there. It's not, otherwise it just turns into radio controlled racing at that point. And who's going to want to watch that? It's not the same thing. So, hopefully things are going to go that right direction there. Again, I agree it's not going to be the fix-all. The issues with this car are many and complicated, but I'm encouraged. I haven't listened to the full interview with Steve O'Donnell on Dale Jr.'s podcast this week, but from what I have heard, I am encouraged by it. It sounds like, it sounds like we're at least kind of on the same page. That, I'm starting to like saying like, oh, we don't want to hear people talk about the playoffs after the Daytona 500. It's like, yes, thank you. Yeah, it should just be about winning the 500. Well, what's going to accomplish that? Full season championship. You want to have these cars be difficult to drive. You want to have side-by-side racing. Well, you're going to have cars that are capable of, going faster than they can around these tracks. And then you have the best drivers out there that are able to manipulate them well and get through lap traffic or work their way through the field. And establish themselves and battle amongst each other and, actually have an honest to God race. And, we had a perfect example of this just yesterday in the Xfinity Series race. I didn't live tweet this. I went out and saw Tron Aries yesterday, which I honestly didn't think was that bad. I mean, a little bit of an aside here. I heard a lot of negative reviews going into it, and I'm still hearing people kind of dumping on it. And I get it to an extent. It sucks that Daft Punk broke up, so we don't have another great soundtrack like that legendary one for Tron Legacy. But I thought it was a perfectly entertaining movie. I will concede that, see, the problem I had with Tron Legacy was I thought the opening was really good and the second half was really boring, where they're just kind of sitting around and talking about philosophy, and then the end of it ends up becoming just the same thing as the original movie. I thought that was kind of lame. In this one, the beginning isn't very good. and it's introducing all these characters you don't really care about. But then about a third of the way in the movie, I would say, it picks up, and the rest of that, I think it was actually pretty entertaining. And I don't think it's turn your mind off thing either. And, Jared Leto, I've not been a big fan of his, but if you're going to have him play, if you're going to have some actor play a program that doesn't understand feelings or personality or anything, I'd probably hire the guy that did Morbius too. I think that's probably the way to go with it. And I think that was probably the right decision. So I actually thought it was kind of entertaining. And actually, we watched Morbius the night before seeing that movie. And I think that actually maybe, I don't know if that just set the bar really low and it wasn't really a big deal or something. But, I honestly thought, it's like, well, heck, it's not that bad. Because Morbius was awful. I mean, I'm not the first one to say it, and the memes were hilarious. And I heard this one reviewer say that it's not even worth the memes to watch the movie. I know we're going far aside here, but we're going to get in the Xfinity race here in just a moment. But let me just finish this thought here that, it isn't worth watching it for the memes in Morbius there for sure. But it was, I was trying to kind of mystery science theater my way through it there, but it was a little bit difficult there. So Tron Ares is definitely better than that. Whether or not it's better than Legacy, I guess that's probably for people to come up with themselves. But I honestly didn't really have a problem with it there, but there you go. Then again, the soundtrack, if we're talking the soundtrack though, no competition. Tron Legacy is easily better. The Daft Punk soundtrack, you just can't compete with it. And I don't know if Nine Inch Nails was the best choice. I'm no music expert there. But I will tell you this, I left the Tron Legacy. I remember, getting the themes stuck in my head. It was very hard to do that in this one. It really was, which is unfortunate. But that's, a story for another day, I suppose. Going into the Xfinity Series race, we'll transition out of that. My goodness, we had a phenomenal battle in the Xfinity Series race yesterday. I very much enjoyed catching up on that yesterday afternoon. What was taking place between especially Aric Almirola, Connor Zilisch, and Jesse Love. Hearing it over the radio, which I listened to for the first half of it, it sounded to me like Jesse Love was about to come up there, take the lead, and never look back. That's the way the radio made it sound like. Even when Justin Allgaier was leading, even when Connor Zilisch was doing his same thing and being up there. But coming back and watching the second half, especially about the last 60 laps of that event, we saw probably one of the best three-car battles on a non-super speedway in any of these series that we've probably seen in at least the last few years. Absolutely great racing. Connor Zilisch, we've seen this out of him so many times already, where when he's racing somebody and trying to get the lead, he just hugs that inside line. That car is practically out of control, and he's skating around there trying to get the top spot, doing everything that he can to get up there and do it, and how he's able to just constantly get out of control and not crash that thing, and not crash the leader either, not driving through them, but just kind of forcing them into a mistake or trying to get the air off their spoiler or something. It is so impressive. I mean, I remember at Charlotte we saw this when he was battling Kyle Larson up there, or I guess it wasn't Charlotte. I guess it was Larson driving his car. But there was some race earlier this year. Was it Charlotte? I guess it was Texas that Larson was driving his car. I seem to remember it was in May that he was kind of doing the same thing that we saw out of him in Las Vegas last night, where, he was just kind of getting under people and just fighting his way through there and just having just the best run that he possibly could. And it was so impressive. It was so impressive. And in this one here, I think this is what we should probably hope for on the road courses next year, with Shane Van Gisbergen, I'm sure, going to be there in some form, whatever his deal is with Trackhouse and all that. Elevating these other drivers and getting up to that point. I think what we saw yesterday was a couple other drivers in this field really take it to Zilisch and just elevate to that level. And I'm sure these teams, even within the JR Motorsports effort, aren't looking to keep losing to this guy. They're trying to figure out what they need to do to beat him. And as much as I know Aric Almirola just kind of gets thrown in the mix here because he's, a former Cup regular, he's just running this all-star car. Yeah, there's the Owners' Championship, but honestly, no fans really care about that. That's something for all the team owners to thump their chests about. Even then, he put on a great show up there, and Almirola absolutely deserved the win. He should be commended, certainly, for beating Zilisch, because Zilisch has definitely figured out these ovals. He is absolutely not a road course specialist in the strictest terms anymore. I mean, he's, several of those checkered flag stickers on that roof rail are coming at these ovals too. And it's been very, very impressive to see. And I think we're going to see a whole lot more of it here too. But man, that battle at the end was so good. I mean, Jesse Love ended up dropping back to 6th at the end. Nick Sanchez was up there mixing it up. He kind of joined the battle. Corey Day was charging up there. It was so good to see. And see, again, you don't have to have restarts. You don't have to have a green-white checker. The race can just finish in regulation like this one did. And you're going to have an absolutely phenomenal battle out there. I don't get where, you have to have this mentality. We got to break out of this here and we should be hoping for great racing. We shouldn't be hoping for a restart and a burst of craziness and maybe somebody wrecks in the first corner. That's not what the racing is. What racing is much more like what we saw last night. And honestly, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson's battle earlier today. That is much closer to it, and it's phenomenal. And I would love it if we didn't just see this on the 1.5 mile tracks here too. I found that race very, very enjoyable. I know I didn't tweet a lot about it. There was really no point in it. I was just kind of just enjoying it. And it was great to see. And I think they really put on a good show. So congratulations to Almirola on the win. Leading 107 laps, Zilich in 2nd, Justin Allgaier in 3rd, Corey Day in 4th, and Nick Sanchez in 5th. I know Sanchez and Love sound like they were, frustrated there after the race, had some words with each other, but understandably. I mean, Love was right up there. I'm sure wanted to be part of that mix there, the battle at the end, but once Sanchez got up there, it seemed to foul things up a bit for him, and again, the radio made it sound like Love was going to be unstoppable in this race. I don't know how much of that was hyperbole or whatever, but again, it seemed like it was a really good battle up there. Jesse Love leads the rest of the top 10 here in the 6th spot with Ryan Sieg, Taylor Gray, Sam Mayer coming back from, what was it? They were talking about him having dropped cylinder or something and getting back in there. I don't know if it was a loose plug wire or whatever. But you don't finish 9th with a drop cylinder, especially not in a race like this with so few cautions and such low attrition here too. And then rounding out the top 10, Austin Hill, who had himself quite the save there off of turn 4 there as well. So I'll tell you what, the folks over in Vegas that attended the race weekend here got their money's worth because it was good to see here. A bit more of a lesser regarded last place battle here this time around. It's a bit more significant historically, really. Thomas Annunziata gets his first last place finish of his NASCAR Xfinity Series career. Unfortunately, some transmission issues in about the first third of the race, dropping him behind the wall. Mason Massey had taken last before that with his car shutting off and losing 28 laps in the garage area. Came back out, passed Annunziata, and then dropped out shortly after with suspension issues. And Jeremy Clements, the only other DNF in this race having transmission issues. We heard earlier in today's race here about some of the drivers, I believe Hamlin as well, complaining about possible shifter issues in this race with the sequential shifter. But in this one here, with the traditional one there, still having some issues there for teams back in the pack. It's the first time the number 70 has finished last in an Xfinity Series race since 2013 with ML Motorsports, the late Mary Louise Miller, who we just lost about 2 weeks ago. Mentioning her on the show last week. So a bit of history there as well. 70 ended up actually getting picked up by the Copes shortly after when they started Cope Ventures Racing. I believe that was a team at that time there. And competing in the circuit at that time. And now bringing the 70 back here with the Thomas Annunziata and Leland Honeyman pairing there in the car this year. Annunziata ends up being your last place finisher here again. First time in his career, first time for the current Cope family racing team. Just a difficult weekend there, but again, something they can bounce back from. Just good that they made the show here. I mean, of course, there was a shorter entry list this time around, but second DNQ of the year last week on the Roval when we had 4 DNQs made it a very challenging qualifying session on top of the logistics of the race itself. And that was kind of the story there at the same time. But Annunziata ends up being your last place finisher on the Xfinity side. Mason Massey in the 37th spot. Jeremy Clements in the 36th. Joey Gase and Nick Lights completing your bottom 5 there on the Xfinity Series side there too. Other runs through the field here. I think actually looking through some of these other drivers, Kyle Sieg had a pretty close call coming to pit road, kind of similar to what we saw at a Ty Dillon. He was much more on the apron, like actually riding the line coming down into pit road versus Ty Dillon. I think that's the challenge of what happened here this time around today, because it looked like from the onboard on Byron that Dillon was like, he was slowing down for sure, but he was like about a half lane up from that line and all that. And I appreciate Sebastian on Twitter tweeting about, like, again, the fact that the message has to get relayed to the spotters and try to prevent an incident like that. And maybe that's why we don't usually see these happen too often, thankfully, because they could be really serious accidents. You have one of these race cars strike something that's going much slower. Those have been very dangerous situations. You think about Andy Hillenberg getting spun by Tony Stewart at 2004 at Darlington. Stewart himself being involved in a very hard accident there in 2002. He ran to Buckshot Jones on the back straightaway. That can get really hairy really quick. And, that could definitely be a story there too. So, hopefully logistically we'll see what's figured out from that. I mean, I think the broadcast did a pretty decent job of trying to cover that and see what was happening. But I think it's just another challenge of this track. And again, I'm surprised the glare didn't get discussed as much. It seemed like that must have played some role. It certainly did on Saturday, but I think that's another one to look at there at the same time. Looking through more of the field here, Sheldon Creed in the 11th spot there. Good effort for him. I mean, my goodness, he was climbing up from the back of the field there early on. The Haas factory team still plugging away there on the Xfinity side. Again, they didn't have the best run they wanted, I'm sure, last night. I'm sure they would have loved to be up there among those top three competitors and battling for the win. But again, they lived to see another day there, and maybe that's going to help them here at Talladega and Martinsville to try to, get one or both of those cars into the championship four. And we'll find out how that shakes out too. It's going to be really interesting. Love the Xfinity series. They've really put on great racing this year. We've seen a lot of interesting stories throughout the field, and that'll be another thing to certainly talk about here at the same time. So, let's see here. Let me kind of check out this. Looking at the playoff standings here as well. I know, again, potentially for the last time, but I guess this year, last time for this round here, with the potential of having a full season championship next year, we're getting down to the end of this playoff system here this time around. Denny Hamlin advancing to the next round. Kyle Larson, Briscoe, and Bell above the cut line here. Larson 35 ahead, Bell 20 ahead, and Briscoe 15 ahead. Pretty comfortable margins among drivers that were in and around the top five here at the end of this. And of course, Denny advancing to the next round. And that makes it a difficult situation there for the drivers further back. William Byron 15 behind, Chase Elliott 23 behind, Logano 24 behind, and Blaney 31 behind after his. Again, Blaney should be very strong in these next two races. Logano is no slouch at either of them as well. Chase, really all four of them. Honestly, you got two Penske guys and two Hendrick guys that could be just as tough at Martinsville as they could at Talladega. I'm still surprised Chase Elliott is the one getting shaken out. I thought for sure he would kind of make a statement there to get into the Final Four this time around. He's been so consistent this year. Not the top race winner, but doesn't have to be. I've been probably one of the best overall performers this year. You could argue whether or not he was the best overall performer this year. But again, Chase Elliott looking, very strong, but still 23 points out the wrong way. And, out and out winning Talladega or Martinsville. If it was the older car, I'd feel more confident in it. With this new car, I don't know. But I guess it was just that penalty that he had and being further back in the pack here for this Vegas race that was very costly. And it didn't seem like that penalty was going to be quite as severe as it was. He was coming back from it. He got his lap back. He fought his way up there and tried to get the best run he could. But man, it's the margin for error is just nil at this point. And, you can't have perfection, of course. But it's difficult. That's going to be a very difficult cut if he misses the four, because I think overall he had a lot of momentum coming into this here. And, the win at Kansas was massive for him too. We'll see. And look, I'm not a big Chase Elliott fan or anything like that. I'm just calling it what it is. He's been very impressive this year. And, again, if it falls short, under the rules, that's just, that just is what it is. But, at the same time, that's kind of where the story comes in here. So, we'll be back here in just a moment. I'm going to get the air conditioning turned on here, and we'll do some trivia. I need to talk about videos coming up here to the channel, and we're going to do that all here in just a moment. So I'm going to step away for just a sec, and then we will be back, and we will do some more here. So stay tuned here, folks. I'll be right back. Oh, and I'll get super chats too. I'm sorry. I saw a couple pop up here, and we'll jump into that at the same time. So stay tuned here, folks. Okay, just checking here as well, make sure everything's set. So, So again, thank you for the happy birthday messages here. I see yours as well, Jude Fernandez. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's been wonderful here on this end here. We had a lovely day here. Happy to be able to cover some racing here and talk about with you guys here tonight. I will lead off this segment here, mentioning the videos here on this channel. Last week I mentioned the Greg Sacks episode of Rise of the Field. I don't think I'm going to do a premiere for this one. I think I'm just going to post it, and it will be available tomorrow morning. So if you're ready for 2 hours of content about Greg Sacks, you won't have to wait too much longer. We'll have that up there tomorrow morning there. So that'll be on October 13th. And that will be right here on this channel. So if you're if you're watching this the next day, you'll probably already see it here in your feed. So that'll be the next new video on this channel here. Very much enjoyed putting that together there. It looks like we had some good reception there from the Patreon too. So we'll move forward with getting that online for you guys here as well. Some other content I'm working on. I've been able to make a lot of progress on the next episode of 500 Days. I'm about the halfway point on the script for that one. I'm hoping to kind of make some more traction on that. I think I should be able to get the script for that one done at the very least before this season is over. And then from there, it'll be working on, polishing it and getting it recorded and edited and so forth. So I don't know if that'll be the next video I complete. I have some other ones that I'm working on. I'm trying to get kind of a shipyard going here with some other projects that are coming together and collecting some other research and so forth. And yeah, like I said, just really enjoying putting all these together. So hopefully we'll get some more stuff going here as well. And I think that'll be something to come up here at the same time. So let's see here. That's most of what I had on this. Let me see. Let's see. Do we have any calls? I guess we don't have calls on inspection. It's probably awfully early on this with the, of course, the implications there with the playoffs and so forth here. Anybody else really like Kyle Larson's paint scheme this week? It was kind of growing on me. It just looks so dark on screen. Probably in person, it looked way better. I like the reflective gold numbers. It was reminiscent of that throwback that Austin Dillon ran at Darlington a couple years ago. That when Richard Childress ran that black and gold car, I think it needed like white accents on the logos to make them pop a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting how it played out there too. But yeah, kind of interesting. But yeah, we're gonna get some more coming together here. Oh, I just got caught off guard. I saw a picture there of Ty Dillon's car after the accident. Somebody was posting some pictures there on that as well. But man, already feeling old already there. I remember when Denny Hamlin got his first win back in 2006 on his way to sweeping Pocono that year. And then even before that, when he won the Bud Shootout there as an exhibition race that year, and the promise that he showed, and the fact that he got in that race at the last minute because he won the pole at Phoenix in 2005. Such an extraordinary career that he's had here, and again, win, lose, or draw. It's unfortunate this championship format is set up the way it is, where, again, if he had enough points and being able to just battle the rest of the season, maybe it would be clinched earlier. But again, this is the way the rules are. As I said on Twitter the other day, these drivers, theirs is not to ask why. These drivers and these competitors, they're competitors. And whatever the competition is, they're just going to be told what the rules are, and then they're going to try to win whatever it is. And yeah, if it was based on a wheelbarrow race and a flip of a coin, they're going to be at Home Depot before noon breaking $1 because they're going to be out there trying to figure that out. And that's going to be what they're going to do. And that's just the way it is. So I don't see why we expect different answers from these drivers about what the format is or anything. That's more of a thing about, the integrity of the sport and what's attractive or interesting to the fans or something like that. Those are relevant things. Those are the people that should be asked about it. So it sounds like things are kind of already going that direction, and maybe that's, already a positive coming up there. But we'll find out here at the same time. Let us see here. So, yes, we'll do some trivia here as well. I do have a little something for show and tell here. I'll bring that out at the same time. But in the meantime, I'll have you guys pick which category you'd like. So we'll bring out the late 90s Trivial Pursuit deal here and do some of that here. So, again, the categories are NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. It feels a little shorter this time around, I guess because we didn't have trucks this week. Yeah, I don't really have too many more notes really on the Cups and Cup or Xfinity races this week. I'll check my other notes here and other things. We touched on the 750 horsepower news, and that's certainly a positive coming up here. Oh, yeah. Okay. I do have the other note here about the new the new console game here for NASCAR. I've made it very clear. I'm not really a gamer. I've done some sim racing stuff way back when, where I was playing around with the paint kit there for NASCAR Racing 1999 edition. In fact, if you want the car files for those, if you join my Patreon, patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock, I think I've made those free posts now. That you can download those files and be able to play around with those there too. But that's about the extent of my following of that. Things went things were already kind of well past my abilities at that point there too. But yeah, it looks like a lot of people are having fun with it. I know there were a lot of the driver promos with the new video game and everything. And yeah, even some personalities and stuff brought up on there. People like posting Twitter responses and stuff in the game. If anybody's wondering, no, we did not get it asked about that on that. So this one at least does not have last car post on there. So you don't have to worry about if you finish last in your races in the video game. You're not going to have to worry about one of my posts coming up there and saying, hey, this is the first time you finished last in 6 races or something like that. Maybe that'll be DLC in the future, but that's not something that's currently on tabs here at the moment. But yeah, it looks like people are having fun with it. I saw Kamikaze Games do a video about this last night, and that was entertaining. So hopefully for people that are much more plugged into such things than I am, I hope you're having fun with that too. And I like, from a standpoint of about the only thing I can comment on is I love that they reached out to as many of these drivers and teams to get them represented in this game, and all the way down to the ARCA series. And so you got drivers like Alex Clubb in ARCA, or Brad Smith, or any of Andy Hillenberg's teams in there, Zachary Tinkle and those guys. And then you got the truck series, you got guys like Norm Benninger in there, and Stephen Malazzi is in there, and then Brad Perez in Xfinity, and so forth. And yeah, it's great to see. They really went for it. Even these days where there's not necessarily a massive amount of teams, there's still a lot of different drivers. I mean, the entry list articles each week are indicative of that, because every week there's always somebody that's swapping into this ride or that ride, and it changes the complexion of the entire field there. So it looks like that's a lot of fun. I like that they even went through the extent of getting driver pictures in there too, for at least a lot of them that they're showing there too. So yeah, seems like it was pretty fun. So hopefully that'll be something that keeps going, and things head that direction. I think that'll be a wonderful introduction to a full field understanding of the sport. Even if you just like the paint schemes or something, I mean, that's cool. I know Brad Perez has always had some great looking cars out there, and I like the one that they picked for this one on that too. I'm very partial to the Apex Coffee Roasters one, but the one they did was pretty solid. So kudos to him on that at the same time. So yeah, that'll be good too. Dawson Cram's in there with Mike Harmon team, so that's good. And yeah, we'll see what comes of that. Yeah, definitely let me know. Okay, I guess you guys are already picking which categories you like. We'll do super chats here at the same time, and we'll jump into all that. I hope you guys enjoy the way the show looks here. I didn't want to say anything at the top of the show here. Hope you guys notice. Yeah, a little birthday gift on this side here. Change the lighting, improve the lighting here a little bit. So hopefully the show will look a little bit better, and you can actually kind of see what's going on here. So I hope the show looks a little better for you guys. I'm always happy to put a little bit more into the program here and make the watching experience a little bit more enjoyable here. I was comparing this to last week's here and doing a bit of practice here a little bit earlier. But yeah, I have to give a big shout out here to Rick Houston and the folks over at the Scene Vault podcast. I asked them what light. I remember noticing the lighting they had when we did the interview with Jerry Nadeau back in April, and I really liked how well it worked, because he worked kind of in a smaller room, kind of like this. And yeah, I was pleased with what they had. So it kind of went for a similar setup here, and we had that. So yeah, I hope that's that looks good here. And we're still kind of tinkering with things here too. So we'll probably do some shows over the off season, I'm sure. And that'll be another opportunity to kind of fix that up. But yeah, hopefully that'll be good there too. Cletus is in the game. I didn't know that, Desert Fox. That's very exciting. Okay, well, there you go. Excellent. No. Good. Yeah, I look back at some of my old streams. Yeah, it's like basically I didn't even use lights or anything. Try to, manipulate the stuff outside there too. So, yeah. But there we go. Yeah, no, Beast of Metal, I'm with you too. We tried different lightings here too. It actually made me look pretty red, but yeah, I didn't want to get it too much of that in the face. Haven't done any makeup or anything like that. Maybe that'll be the next step or something, but we'll get there. We'll get there one of these days, I suppose, if that's something else in the marks there too. But yeah, so let's see. Oh, yeah, I should do super chats here too. Actually, let's pick a category. Which category are we leading on here? Let's see what we have. Wild card, drivers. I see 2 for drivers. I see 2 for wild card. I see 1 for tracks. Anybody else on this one? Okay, I see another one for wild card. I think wild card might be leading. Is that the case here too? I think that'll be the other one too. Yeah, no, my cheeks get a lot of sun, so I know that brings up a lot of color here too. So yeah, I had, I know with my old lighting system, I basically had a light that was about the size of this phone. So when it was shining on there, it just kind of was looking right in my face. I have this one set up above me here and aiming down, which is, of course, it's more diffuse. So it kind of works with that. But something to play around with, because I have some other ideas about some other videos coming up, and I think that'll be good. Okay, Beast of Metal, thank you. Wild card looks like it's the winner, so we'll go ahead and do that and do some questions. Let me read off the first question, and then I'll do super chats in between here too. So we'll get into that. All righty. And again, big thanks to those of you in the Patreon, patreon.com/lastcaronbrock. Again, such things like that to improve the channel here, as well as, taking care of the cost of keeping the Last Car site online there, and, other things like that. It's tremendously helpful. So big thanks to you guys there on that, as well as, anybody that's sharing the videos here or tuning in here tonight. It all definitely helps for sure. Let's do, okay, hang on. Wild card. Okay, here we go. All righty. Nope. Okay, I think we did that one already. Ooh. Oh, this is good. I think we might have had this one, but it might have been a while. So maybe this will be new. If you haven't heard it yet, it's new to you. Here we go. What driver worked at his dad's, I can also see this easier. What driver worked at his dad's sawmill in Barbecue Township, North Carolina? Barbecue, I can almost see it from there. Yeah, that'll be really good, because usually I have to do this. Let me read that again. What driver worked at his dad's sawmill in Barbecue Township, North Carolina? That is the question. And while you guess there, I'll go ahead and get into super chats here at the same time. Let me jump into this here too. Michael Jensen, my goodness, thank you for the super chat there for $20 on here. Another longtime radio announcer retired, as this was PRN's Mark Garrow's last race. On top of him being a longtime MRN PRN voice, he was lead play-by-play on a bunch of TNN inaugural Busch Series coverage in 1991 and 1992. And happy trails to Mark Garrow in his retirement. I see your response there, Beast of Metal as well. Yes, no, thank you for reminding me there, Michael, for sure. And again, thank you for the super chat for sure. Mark Garrow, I mean, tremendous. I mean, the radio is just not going to be the same next year. What we've had, we've already had other personalities be leaving the booth there. At the same time, was it Doug Rice retired? Mark Garrow here at the same time. This last SMI track, I guess, of this year, for that, it's going to be very different. And I think we were talking a while back about how he was mentioning, similar to kind of Barney Hall, like how he was kind of plugged into kind of helping out some of these drivers and teams with their sponsors. And I think I believe he was the one that he mentioned Chuck Bound and the Nestea sponsorship that he had, the Nescafe one. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that came up there. He just kind of casually dropped that in his announcement, and it was like, oh my goodness. I'm sure the folks over at the Scene Vault podcast or elsewhere are going to be having reaching out to him, or somebody doing interviews with him. But I'm sure any interview with him is going to have some tremendous stories out there. So hopefully some more opportunities come up to share moments like that too. You always hear from drivers and team owners and engine builders and such, but some others in media personalities, they can really have just tremendous experiences too. I was amazed by when they were talking about, Barney Hall helping out with the Rumpel Furniture deal that kind of ended up getting connected there with J.D. McDuffie back in the 80s. And it sounds like, from the Chuck Bound deal here, Mark Garrow was very much involved in the same deals there too. So I share, your salutes definitely as well to Mark for his tremendous career out there. Very distinctive voice. You always listen. I mean, a lot of times, I've very much enjoyed listening to, his radio broadcast, especially during, when, I was starting to kind of really ramp up stuff with the LASCAR site and trying to do like the live, play-by-play that was going on. Always be listening to the radio broadcast. If I was, especially when I was working night shift, that was a big deal, because I couldn't always get access to the TV broadcast or streaming wherever it was going. And it was always tremendously helpful. And the ability of these radio announcers to paint a tremendous picture of what's happening in the race. Just this week, again, talking about the Vegas race this week, and he and his crew describing Jesse Love and how well he was performing and how it sounded like he was going to be up there and, battling for the win. And indeed, coming back and seeing the end of it and seeing him right in the thick of it, they were, I was able to pick right back up where they left off. And it ended up being more of a contentious battle at the end. I wasn't listening to the radio for the end of it, but I'm sure whatever they were doing was coming through tremendously. So, tremendous hope that whatever his next step in his career is going to be, great for him and for the sport and everything. And, I certainly wish him the best on that. So again, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the reminder as well on that, Michael, for sure. Beast of Metal, thank you for your super chat for $10 on here. Thank you very much. Add the number of placement to the DVP and the Ponzi charters as bad ideas spearheaded by the RTA. Trying to argue NASCAR are the only villains becomes harder the more peeks behind the curtain we get. I don't even care the Kaufman clock is gone. There are key areas that the teams aren't allowed to repair under the DVP, not to mention that apparently if you go to the care center, you are automatically eliminated from the race. The whole thing is a fundamental betrayal of the original ethos of stock car racing. This again, Beast of Metal's super chat on there. I mean, again, I assume you probably bring it up in the context. Is it the Ryan Blaney incident that's kind of bringing this more to attention? I know that was a bit surprising when Blaney came down pit road, and although he had massive damage, and I don't know if they could have fixed it. It was almost halfway when he wrecked, and that was going to be kind of a tricky situation there. Conceivably could have, but with nobody else out of the race, and although there was later attrition, I mean, maybe he could have climbed past a couple of people. It would have been difficult, and who knows what's going to happen there. But I do agree that since the RTA became more of an issue, and I've talked about it a lot on here, and I know we've talked about this a lot on here. It has fundamentally changed, what the spirit of the sport is. Being able to work on your car and get back out there, trying to get the most points that you can get, trying to get the best finish that you can get, and not just kind of settling, not just throwing up your hands like, well, nope, it's too screwed up, we can't get back out there. And I think that's something that a lot of people really, really enjoy, is just the determination that these drivers and teams have to compete at the best of their ability, even if maybe all the circumstances around them are not working out right. Get caught up in somebody else's crash, have a mechanical issue, bad pit stops, penalties, whatever else that can happen along the way. And I think some of that's been lost, with the RTA and, what's happened with restructuring the field. Talking this week, I mean, I think another thing kind of your post reminds me of is the discussion we had about moving the car numbers. And apparently, like, the RTA stepped in and said, no, we're not moving the car numbers back. And it's like, well, wait a minute, why do they have more control over that than NASCAR does? I heard some rumblings at the time that the RTA controlled like that space where the contingency decals were, which is why they kind of came up with these different things like Snapchat logos and things like that. But I don't know. It's difficult. It's a difficult situation, and maybe it's another thing that NASCAR needs to figure out going forward, whatever their plans are next season and going ahead of that. But we'll see. But again, thank you for the super chat there at the same time. And again, I do agree. There's been some kind of restructurings that are a bit messy here at the same time, but maybe we're kind of heading back to where things need to be. And Beast of Metal, thank you again. Oh, goodness, you have to do that, but thank you again for the super chat there for $10 here. I saw a video of a glitch at Sears Point at NASCAR 25 that could have saved Tom Hubert from one of his last place finishes. Apparently, off-track portion of the hill past 1 isn't mapped right. The hill past turn 1 isn't mapped right. Okay, I was almost talking about the S's, maybe the wreck he had in 06. Yeah, that would be interesting from there. So if I mean, I assume it's like, is it something like an extra like way, like an access road or something? Like if it was something in the S's, that'd be great. Like maybe use the IndyCar short course and kind of cut through the dirt. I know David Gilliland avoided that same big wreck in 2006 by coming through there too. But yeah, I love hearing that. I like what this also reminds me of too was Hocevar's tweet this week where he was showing kind of driving around the infield, which actually was happening back at the Charlotte Roval. Just last week, we actually had one of the cars or one of the drivers out there. I think it was Carter Fartook in the Truck Series race that he had to drive around the garage buildings before entering the track because he wanted to make sure the truck was actually running. And that was something that actually had happened with Steve Malazzi back at Rockingham back in the spring. But showing that, yeah, there's other places the drivers can drive around in, especially if it's in the garage area or in the field. I think that's really cool. Certainly for me, I think that's exciting. Because I know in a lot of the older sims, you really couldn't do that. Cars that were retired from a race would just disappear or they would sit in the pit stall for the rest of the race. And it's like, no, I want to have the thing where you can actually drive behind the wall and go in the garage area. That would be fun. At least to me. Maybe not fun is probably not the right word. I know it probably wouldn't be fun for somebody having to, but, that'll be interesting. But yeah, I am intrigued that maybe there's some other glitches in Sears Point that actually give you some extra access roads. That would be really... that'd be really cool to check out. I know that I remember like with NASCAR Heat and some of those, it was always a challenge to try to ramp up those hills, whether it was the one at turn 2 or the one at the exit of turn 7 and just trying to run up on that. I think the one in 7 could really get you some height on those. So that was always kind of a lot of fun there too. But yeah, no, definitely wanted to mention there at the same time. Glitch basically lets you bypass 1 and 2. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, so it's like the drag strip? Oh, that would be interesting. That would be really interesting to see. It's like you can kind of cut through there and do that. That would be interesting. So, yeah, we'll see what's going on. I see your comments here too. Will be some metal on the radio networks. I've been wondering that too. Yeah, the NASCAR Racing Network thing is intriguing, and then having these other personalities leaving. I hate that they're leaving. I mean, if they are doing something to consolidate, I would like to say that maybe they would just, at worst, maybe reposition them to some other executive role or something, some reward for all the years they've been involved in this or anything like that, or something kind of guide things forward and what their objectives are going to be going ahead of here. I don't know. But we'll see what the story is there too. Oh, thank you for the birthday wishes, folks. I appreciate it. Let me get the answer back here too. We didn't get the answer to that. We're talking about Barbecue Township here. What driver worked at his dad's sawmill in Barbecue Township, North Carolina? That is the question. And let's see. Oh, somebody driving off the Chicago street course and onto other city streets. Now that would be great if you could just like bust out of there and like, I don't know, drive around Wrigley Field or something. That would be fun. Is Wrigley Field or the Chicago White Sox field closer to the street course? I don't know if anybody knows. I've never been to Chicago, so I don't know. We got guesses for Cecil Gordon, Curtis Turner, Sammy Swindell, Buck Baker, Junior Johnson. Several guesses on this one. Let's see. Barbecue Township, worked at his dad's sawmill there in North Carolina. The answer is Herb Thomas. Herb Thomas. That's actually something I didn't put in the JD book. There we go. Herb Thomas is the correct answer on that. So that will be the one this time around. I'm very happy with this lighting because it also lights these quilts up nicer. These were way too dark before. They have like some of these really good patterns. And I know I've shown these on the show before, but that'll be another aspect of that too. Oh, I said I had something for show and tell. Yes, because I wanted to test this with the lights too. So we'll do that in just a moment. I'll read the next question and then we'll jump into that. Let's see. Okay, this is we might have done this one too, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? That is the next question there. Don't think either ballpark is close enough. Okay. I mean, Chicago's pretty big. I mean, I guess. I mean, again, never been, so I'm not sure. Interesting. I haven't watched a lot of baseball here. I watched the end of the Phillies game. I know I was tweeting about that the other day about the road uniforms. I thought they looked pretty cool. I thought they looked they kind of looked a little bit like NASCAR uniforms with the striping and everything. It kind of I'd seen a uniform that looked very similar to that. Heartbreaking though at the end of that game. My goodness, I feel for that pitcher. But my goodness, sounds like they've just had some phenomenal games, at least in the divisional round. Hopefully that carries to the conference. I don't follow it nearly as closely. I was kind of a bandwagon fan for the Giants back in about 10 years ago. But we'll see how, we'll see how things go. Looks like they got some interesting ones in there. Just hope it's anybody but the Dodgers, which probably means the Dodgers are going to win it anyway. So we'll see. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight rides in reverse with Joe Weatherly? That is the question. With Joe Weatherly. Yeah, rough deal for the Cubs there too. Yeah. It's just good you guys got that ring a few years ago. That was the one where, I was dressed up as, you know who, old, what was it, Steve Bartman there at the Giants game, because they were going against each other in, I guess it was the divisional round that year. It's like they weren't actually in the series, or I guess maybe it was the conference. It was like really close to the World Series, and then it was a difficult game there on that. But yeah, no, I have the video. I didn't realize at the time the guy that was interviewing me, I saw he had a Chicago Cubs logo on his press pass, and it was like I saw that, I was like, oh man, I might be in trouble. And he says, yeah, you might be. And it turned out it was the same. I should have watched Catching Hell before we did that, but before we went to that game. But I mean, it was absolutely that same guy, the guy with white hair that was the sports reporter back in 2003. And he was interviewed in that documentary. And I knew I had recognized him, but I didn't recognize him from that. The Giants did win that game, but they didn't make it to the next round. So, there's pictures around there somewhere too. I'd shaved my beard, which is a big mistake because I can't, it doesn't work for me anymore. But yeah, that was 2016, 2015, 16, I think it was 16. Was it 14? No, 14 the Giants won, I think, because that's when I started work at the hospital. I think it was 15 or 16. I know it was one of those 2 years. Well, yeah, it must have been 16, because I guess that was whole even year thing. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I'm trying not to look it up. Let's see here. Just checking Pockraces right quick here. No, you don't have a call on Pockraces here on this. One thing I want to bring up here, and something I dug out of the collection here, and one of my absolute favorite paint schemes. I want to see how this shows up on camera here. I just love these old Pontiacs, and certainly this one here, the old Pennzoil Pontiac that Michael Waltrip ran. And I saw some comments here. We had a good discussion on this about when they kind of changed the black wheels in the 1996 Pontiac and Johnny Benson took over. Again, I was not a big fan of that. I remember that even as a kid. I loved these bright yellow rims, and it just really looks nice. And I know that Pennzoil being still in the sport, of course, with Joey Logano's sponsorship, and you usually see that different scheme. And Matt Yoakum tweeting just recently about his family member, I believe it was his mother, that was involved with Pennzoil and the compromise between how many contingency decals. They wanted a clean look, kind of like the Indy cars. This diecast actually has way more contingencies on it than it seemed to at the time. This was a 1995 or 95 preview edition. Yeah, 95 preview edition Racing Champions car. And there we go. See how that shows. Okay, there we go. Kind of get it in the focal length here. I'm going to need to do like a different mobile cam or something like that here. But, again, always really like the detail on this. I like that they kind of have the late 80s, early 90s Pontiac, so it has like a little inlet on the nose, but then they still kind of decorate it in the same way like a mid-90s Pontiac is. Always really enjoyed this detail here, too. So, the bright yellow rims. This car is very lightweight, too. It's got a plastic chassis on the bottom of it here. And it probably only weighs about, I don't think it even weighs a pound. Like, it looks like it's way heavier than it is, but it's got kind of these gaps here on the side, and it's certainly compared to like a 24th scale today, it wouldn't be, as much. But this is one of those schemes, and again, it's very, very simple. It's just the bright yellow. It's got the little black and red stripes on the bottom. Most of the other releases the Racing Champions made of this car didn't have the black and red stripes. And, really kind of right before they changed it, they kind of got it like just right. The 64th of this is really nice too. Like, I think they made that really good when they had the big wheels on it. I didn't bring that up here, but I have this in 64th, 43rd, and then this one here, dug out of storage here. I had it in the box, but the box is falling apart, and I'm like, yeah, let's find a good place to show this. But always really liked the way this one looked. And it was always hard to find in stores because back then, I mean, that was always the thrill. You had these paint schemes that would come out each year. And this one, of course, was around for several years between 91 and 95 before they started tweaking it there when Johnny Benson came over in 96. It more or less was the same in 96, but on a different car. It just looked different. Yeah, I mean, you could go to a store any, 2 different days and, they would have either very little or maybe like a couple ARCA guys. Then other time they'd have like a whole batch of cars coming in there. And it was very eclectic. It's not like today where you have like the waves of cars that come out and maybe get 5 or 6 of them. And then other times you get like these peg warmers, like the Petty ones or the Wood Brothers ones or whatever. And, they mean well. That's kind of a cool idea and everything. But, the regular schemes are what everybody's looking for, and it's the whole market is just tricky these days. And these were always really affordable too, which was nice. When I started the moment I could get a driver's license, I always like going to like Target or Toys R Us and kind of looking up some of these just to see what was there. And I kind of came in like the tail end of that, like 99, 2000, like the Racing Champions had their 10th anniversary. And then in 2000, they changed their body molding again, and they had some really good models. And that's about the time that was like the peak of Hot Wheels as well. They did really good cars back then. Yeah, it was interesting to see. But that's something we got to kind of get back to here with this. It's always so tricky. You got the minimum order, percentage and stuff like that, and production and like that. But it was always fun. It was a little. You see, like the treasure hunt. People that collect that stuff, like, in Hot Wheels and everything. And Racing Champions was even crazier because, like, they would just kind of, I guess, for each of these stores, they would have a box of, like, 1 or 2 of each of these cars, but it was like a ton of different designs. And it was anybody's guess what would be where. And that was always fun. I remember I have a very clear memory of seeing one of these in 64th scale on a peg, and those yellow rims just stood out. And that was always like, that was really sick. There were some schemes I always liked. I mean, the Derek Cope schemes, anything was like neon colored, but this was just perfect. I probably have a lot of drawings in my planner and stuff, and this would be a very easy one to draw. Just get use up a yellow crayon there to do it. But yeah, I wanted to kind of bring that out on the show there too. But I love that a lot of the old school stuff is I like that it's still out there. And now it's reached a point where, there's so much other stuff that's been produced since then that it's a bit more affordable. I was kind of surprised, honestly, by some of the prices when we were back east at Rockingham, or some of these other displays and stuff where they kind of just have it off to the side. It's like, man, I love that stuff, and if it's not 100% accurate, I that's the other thing I talked about this week, kind of goes into my discussion. I know that there were issues in this video game that came out this week where you have paint schemes with alcohol sponsors or things of that nature where they're censored and they just kind of have like Junior Motorsports or whatever other branding. The Traveler's Whiskey one was kind of what started this discussion there on the Allgaier one. And, I get not having it in the video game, like that sucks because like, yeah, I mean, at least there you can change it. I remember even way back in the day, like NASCAR Racing 1, you would have like just Ford Motorsports on Rusty Wallace's car or, things of that nature. But yeah, trying to get it to, look the way it is. But when it came to diecast, I never minded it. That's kind of the way I've always come at it there. I always found that they got really, really creative with it. Not all the time. I mean, like Harry Gant and Ken Schrader's car, they just kind of left nothing. There was just nothing on there. And there was just like a white car or something. But even then, that was kind of interesting because it was like sometimes they changed the number font a little bit. It would look a little weird. There was a little artistic liberty to it. And Racing Champions is what I think of in this context because they were the ones that really kind of started that. I always really enjoyed that. Again, they were cheaper, they were more plentiful, they seemed like they were just everywhere for a time. They were massively popular, certainly by the mid 90s. And then they, changed the tooling in 95 and had more detail on them there. It was great. It was great. I always found, and they were marketed as the affordable collectible, which was great too. It more or less kind of stayed that way really till, 04, 05 when they kind of scaled back, in that respect there too. That was always a lot of fun. But, I see some of those ones that, even more recent ones. I have like a Kevin Harvick one where it had like the Happy Harvick logo on the hood when it was supposed to be his Budweiser car from 2011. One of my favorites is the Ricky Craven one from 95 where it had the Larry Hedrick Motorsports logo on the hood instead of the Kodiak logo. Again, it's not 100% accurate, but I remember that would always be the fun part. You would go to a store and you'd see these paint schemes on TV and you knew it was kind of expected that the cars weren't going to 100% look the same way they did on TV, but they'd be pretty close to it. And it's like, oh, I wonder how this is going to look. And like maybe, like the colors would be really bright, or maybe they wouldn't, or maybe the graphics would be different, or maybe some wouldn't fit on a certain scale or something. That was always exciting to me. And I think the peak of that was like right between, I'd say probably, maybe right up to like 2000, 2001. I think once there was more competitors there and you had Hot Wheels, Winner's Circle was the biggest thing that changed the game. I talked about that in the Kenny Irwin video. When they came in there and they basically made ones that you used to only be able to get at the racetrack, the really detailed ones, which are now pretty much the industry standard. Pretty much all the ones that Lionel makes, they're like the descendant of like those cars. The wheels, if you look at like a 2021 car, it looks pretty much the same like body style as like a 2000 car. In terms of like, the way the chassis is designed and the way the wheels look and things like that. Obviously that's changed a lot with the next gen car in the Cup Series. There's still that connection there. Once that came in, that was kind of the starting of the end for Racing Champions to kind of scale back more and more over the next few years. Hot Wheels was there for a bit. They were kind of the premium one there, the really heavy ones. Those would always also be really hyper detailed too. And Racing Champions just didn't quite really do that. But I always thought they had a lot of, I really enjoyed them the best. They've always been my favorites. That was always exciting. So yeah, same deal with this here too. And I love, one of these days we'll do like a decoration or something with a bunch of old Racing Champions cars, and that'll be some kind of aspect of that too. But I get the frustration with it in a video game. I think in that one, you should be able to, if you're paying for the video game, it should be able to have whatever sponsors you want on there. The good thing with diecast is if you don't want to have like a censored one, usually there'd be other options. Like I remember they would have Rusty Wallace cars and it would come in a little special box or something. And they'd be like, oh, they card you for it or something, which is so absurd. I don't even know if they do that anymore these days. It seems like with some of these cars that have like those sponsors, they just don't make them. Like that's kind of the way it goes. The Traveler's Whiskey one is probably a rare exception. I have, I'm not as concerned about that now with the gray in my beard here, but I remember at a time, like 99, 2000, trying to get like Jimmy Spencer with the No Bull logo or Rusty Wallace with the Miller Lite. Like you could not get it. They would card it. They would card you for it for a car. Like, I mean, that's going to, make you drink if you just buy a car. It's crazy. But yeah, that was kind of that turning point there, in that respect. But yeah, love that old school stuff, and of all the ones, these Pontiacs, I got to put something together one of these days, something like this, whether it's a video or whatever, but just kind of summing that up there because these are a big part of that too. So definitely brought that back out, at the same time here. Where were we? We had a question on this one. I'm sorry. We got to get back into that. Yes. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? We'll just do a couple more questions and wrap up here. Oh, yeah, it's like 7:30. Okay, here we go. Who earned infamy for high-speed races, midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? The answer is Curtis Turner. Curtis Turner is correct. A couple of you guys, I think you guys guessed Curtis Turner on an earlier question. 2016 was the Cubs one. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Were these the answers to the first question or the second? Junior Johnson, Fireball Roberts. Anybody get Curtis Turner on this batch? I don't think so. Somebody did earlier. That was for sure. Yeah, I like the contingencies too. I mean, again, this one has a whole lot of them there, but yeah. And Lemon mentioned it too. Yeah. No, the old ones, that was great. I mean, we need to get back to that point. And again, this is, I don't believe in tormenting younger people with the way things used to be and say, oh, it'll never be like that. No, BS. I think we need to get back to that. I think if you want to, we need to figure out a way to have, there's got to be a company like Racing Champions out there that can make these affordably, that could make a large portion of the field, that could produce them quickly as well. I mean, you think about the logistics of this, it's pretty amazing that they were able to do this back then. It used to be, Kyle Petty breaks his leg at Talladega, Bobby Hillin drives his car, they make a diecast of it. Bobby Hillin drives in Davey Allison's car for like one race, they make a diecast out of it. It's extraordinary. That would be unheard of today. Because the minimum order, quantity is so massive that it's just not going to happen unless it's a major name or something. I see Timmy Hill's car at Darlington show up. Hopefully it gets produced. It would be great if it did. But man, it's so hard to just get that boulder over the top of the mountain there. But it used to be, I guess the licensing to several of these teams was relatively inexpensive. Producing the cars with a bit simpler detail was a little bit less expensive. I personally wouldn't have a problem with it. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Maybe have a little bit of artistic liberty to it and kind of have it representative of it, maybe as an alternative. And again, just competition, maybe show a better way of doing it. I think there would be a market for it. I don't think it, I wouldn't expect it to explode and just take off like it did back then, because now there's a precedent. Now that's been around, but I'd like to think that business model could still be possible. It's just it's going to take some, it's going to take some effort from somewhere. I don't exactly know where, and I don't know the nature of Lionel's licenses or what else could be worked out there too. Yeah, the Matchbox one, 611 Hornet. You're mentioning those too. Yeah, those were fun too. Yeah, it used to be connected right with people that were already making diecast in other ways. The Hot Wheels ones, the Matchbox ones, like you mentioned, same thing. It would be great. It'd be great. I love seeing the Winner Circle branding back, and I'm glad the NASCAR Authentics is still there. And, they make a few cars here and there. Their latest batches seem a little samey to me. They're kind of making kind of the same guys. I would love to see much more variety, or if they want to just do that and have somebody else make everybody else. Like maybe the rights to Alpha Prime Racing or Garage 66 or BJ McLeod's Live Fast Motorsports would be less expensive. That would be great. Just something that works out that way. So who knows? I would love to see that. I would love that for the next generation, for this generation and the next, and hopefully kind of get that going again. Because I think it's a wonderful way to interact with the sport and its sponsors and the drivers, and just have the names really clear on the roof of the cars and stuff. And maybe something like that would be a wonderful, wonderful business for it. And I think that would be easier now with the Cup Series. If it's a spec car, it's pretty much the same model. So it used to be a lot of the Racing Champions cars were like that too, where they would have kind of the same body style and very, very minor changes. You look at like 19 cars from 1989. It's like the exact same upper body, and then the lower half is just slightly tweaked. So a Buick only looks slightly different from a Chevy versus a Pontiac versus a Ford, which is kind of weird. And then they evolved. Then they didn't, much like the ESPN broadcast, they kind of tried things over time there too. Let's see. All right, we'll just do one more question here, folks. I know it's been kind of a longer show here. Here we go. Last question of the evening. What future Cup champion tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? What future Cup champion tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? Oh, Johnny Lightning. Yeah, that's not one. Johnny Lightning always seemed like they were really expensive, and they were really pretty rare. They used to have some. I know they did like Cale Yarborough's car and stuff like that. Yes, Black Solar 212. I see your comment there about Sterling Marlin's car in the video game. Yeah, some of those were really fun, really fun. I mean, I love the little bit of creativity. I as particular as I get about things in the sport, especially like, the cars and the sponsors, and you want to kind of get it to look like exactly right. I really, it was, to me, it was outmatched by the creativity that they were doing. It's kind of like creativity from limitations. You always hear about the stories about like Ren and Stimpy, the cartoon, that there was a version of it that was going to be pushing the boundaries way beyond what they were going to show. And then Nickelodeon said, oh, you can only do this, this, or this. And then some of those decisions ended up making the show better. And some of those things are more memorable about it. And I think with Racing Champions, although it's not the same context, I think it's maybe the same result, that you could see that creative hand kind of guided in there. It's like, okay, maybe we can't put Budweiser on this car, but we could put the team sponsor or maybe an associate sponsor. Rick Mast, I think on the Mastcast before it stopped, he talked about doing advertisement for Skoal and, chewing tobacco, of course. And there were other times that he couldn't say Skoal. He kind of went with another associate they had in Magic Market. And that was kind of, more like a place that you would buy Skoal, but not that way. And that was kind of their workaround. And indeed, their diecast, if you look at the old Rick Mast cars, would have that Magic Market one. I remember that very clearly because that was like the first car I had. It was like Terry Labonte's car from 1990. And it had the Magic Market logo on the hood. And I remember picking that up because I remembered Rick Mast flip at Talladega in 91. And I didn't think about anybody else driving the car. I figured, I see the one car, black and white, must be Rick Mast, even though it's got Terry Labonte's name and big letters on there. But that's the fun part. You see different ones from year to year. So that's always good. Yeah, they're all held by NASCAR. Well, but again, maybe consolidating it makes it easier. I mean, I don't know. And maybe there's a way that could be negotiated. I mean, I think we're probably in a point now where maybe things are kind of in a state of flux here a little bit. Yeah. 611 Hornet. Oh yeah, the Rusty Wallace ones, the Pontiac branding. Oh, those are so good. So good. So good. And I could never, I think I've said this on the show, I could never find Rusty Wallace's car in stores, ever. And that was, that was the fun part. There would always be one that would be kind of hard to find. It was Rusty Wallace, and it was Darrell Waltrip in the 17. Once Darrell Waltrip got in the 66, that car was everywhere. But when he was in the 17 car, I could never see that on the shelves, ever. I could see Michael's car more often than I'd see Darrell's. And Michael's was pretty rare, too, because I think everybody else was like in the yellow wheels there, too. But that was great. That's how simple it is. It's just a matter of a little bit of paint there in the right places, and then suddenly it becomes like something really cool. And obviously anything with the Petties. Oh, God, the Petty cars are always gorgeous. Yes. But yeah, they need to work something out with that. What future Cup champion tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear is the question. Last question for the evening. And the answer, I guess, is for Cale Yarborough and Terry Labonte and Lee Petty and Rusty Wallace. And the answer is Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough. So 611 Hornet, you got it. Yeah, make limited quantities. Yeah, make them limited edition. Then if anybody wants them, maybe they're a bit more expensive, and then maybe more resale market or something like that. I mean, eBay and Amazon and all that exists. I mean, there's an infrastructure there that you could work with. Somebody's gonna have to come on Shark Tank or something and make some cheaper diecast. I always kind of pictured when I was a kid, a lot of these cars had stickers on them, and I know that's not preferable. But neither is, wrapping these cars these days and all that. And I remember there would be cars that would be like at Happy Meals they would make you put it together. You'd have a car and you'd have like the stickers you had to put on it. Like it'd be Hut Strickland's car or Bill Elliott's car or something. And I was kind of thinking like, well, why can't they do that? They'd probably be way cheaper to make stickers than just make a finished die cast. So why don't they just have cars that are various colors, and then you can just kind of put whatever stickers you want on there. Like, you have to get a blue one if you want this car or, whatever. Make the stickers see-through or something. I don't know if that would just seem too cheap today or just not of a good enough quality or something like that. But I know that there are people that make customs where they do like full-on wraps on a micro scale, and they do tremendous work. And there's a lot of people that make customs that are very, very impressive. I don't know if that would be the path to making such things, because they got to go all the way to the extent of stripping the cars down and starting over and clear coating and all that other stuff, and it, depending on who makes it and what quality the graphics are or how good the person is at making it, it's still kind of an inconsistent, level. I've had some that maybe are really, really good quality, and I've had a few others that are just really not really very good either. It looks like somebody just kind of drew it over with a marker or something. The quality control is a little tricky there. I mean, I got nothing but respect for people that can do it really, really well. But I've always been very preferable to official releases. For one thing, customs are too expensive. I can't justify, even if it's paint scheme I like, I can't justify throwing a lot of money at a custom car. If it's made professionally and so forth, and it's got the accoutrements or whatever, if it's in the box and all that. I know people even do recreations of the boxes, which is impressive. That's just never been my thing. So, what I like is just what was made back then. And, it's unfortunate what wasn't made, and I have, again, I've done some customs and picked some up, but I mean, it's very rare, very rare. I think I only have maybe 4 or 5 in my collection, and that's not a big percentage of that at the moment here. So, because again, I love just looking at this, the artistic liberty there, why they put these contingencies on there, why they made sure that the tires are the right color and so forth. The little plastic gear shift that's in there too. You probably can't see it very well on camera. There you go, maybe a little bit better. But yeah. Let's see. But yes, Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough is the answer. Let me check the inspection results one more time here. Do we have a call on this? I don't think we do. Wow, still pretty early yet. Do we have anything on it? Let me check our chat here at the same time. No worries, Marcus. I think last week's show was pretty late the way it worked there too. Still no update on post-race tech. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, I don't want to be on here too late tonight here. So we're going to probably wrap up for now. If we do have an update, I'll mention it here on my Twitter feed at Last Car on Brock here a little bit later. I don't have anything on that. Okay. No, I think we'll call that good. So I believe that's all the notes I have here at the same time here. So if anything does come up, yeah, I'll definitely give an update on here well, I guess not really on here on the show, but on my Twitter feed at Last Car on Brock. And then we'll have the article for you later tonight. But again, pending the results of post-race inspection, it will be Ryan Blaney, which will be his second of the Cup Series season. We will find out if that is the case. But congratulations to this weekend's winners. Again, pending the results of post-race inspection. And we'll see if it pops up while I do the closing credits here. That's happened before too. Yeah, between Denny Hamlin's win today, unofficially the 60th win of his Cup Series career, Eric Almirola winning yesterday in the Xfinity Series. In the meantime, my Patreon is patreon.com/lastcaronbrock. My website, of course, is lastcar.info. My Twitter is at lastcaronbrock. Our next show is going to be next Sunday after White Knuckle Weekend at Talladega. We will be talking about the Truck Series. We will be talking about the Cup Series, and we will be talking about the Cup Series at the end of all of that. Did I say the Cup Series twice? Because one of those should have been the Xfinity Series. Although we'll probably talk about the Cup Series twice, depending on what happens at the end of that. So we'll have a triple header weekend and a lot to cover here as well as we march towards the end of the 2025 NASCAR season. So in the meantime, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in here. Thank you for your birthday wishes here as well. It's been a wonderful day here as well. And I got a present for you guys tomorrow there with the next episode of Rise of the Field Fillers on Greg Sachs. So stay tuned to your inbox for that, as you can check that out tomorrow. Again, I'm just going to post that. I'm not going to do a premiere for that there as well. So, yeah, we're going to jump right into all of that next week. So have a lovely evening, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll see you all next Sunday.